Yo, people, and welcome to Go Global's Qatar 2002 World Cup draw watch along. It's myself, Culture Cams, and I'm joined today with my co-host Pete. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, Culture Cams.
Yeah, you can call me Culture Cams on here. But listen, guys, first and foremost, write down where you are watching this from. I want to know what nations are inside. It is a World Cup, so I expect to see nations from all over the place. And if you're Nigerian, if you're Italian, Egyptian, you can still put your flags in there. It doesn't matter, even if you're not gonna be there. It's all good. I feel the same way as a Nigerian. Don't worry about that. But Pete, I can see you've got the island flag in your name. Well,
Yeah.
Ireland's not there. Are you still representing?
Look, any tournament you go to, you're going to see Ireland flags. Irish people just tend to, book the travel as soon as the venues are announced, and then whether they qualify or not, they still go. I can guarantee there'll be loads of Irish people at the World Cup in Qatar, just like there are no matter what tournament we're going to. We haven't qualified for a World Cup since 2002. There's a full generation of people who love the session, who have completely missed out and now past their prime. It's a terrible shame.
Looking at the comments, I can see that there's all types of nations: Argentina, Cambodia, Malaysia, Thailand, India, Jamaica, United Kingdom, that's Mexico. We
I
are
just
well
see somebody from Ghana commenting, Cam.
Ghana. Hey,
What do you think of that?
nah, I'm messing around. You guys can come in as well. Maybe we're not on good terms at the moment, but we move. I see Egyptians in here, Brazilians, so we're well represented. It's definitely going to be a fun stream. But let's get into some of the topics about what is actually going on in this World Cup. Of course, it's
Yeah.
going to be in Qatar, middle of the season. It's the middle of the season. This is the first time in my lifetime, definitely, that there's been a World Cup in the middle of the season. How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, you say you're a Nigeria fan, so you're used to having tournaments interrupt the season, and with the Africa Cup of Nations. So it's strange for people who I suppose follow European teams, European national teams, to see something like this happen. But all around the world, and the Asian Cup as well, international teams have always had to get around the problem of scheduling. In countries and in continents where it's just not feasible to host in the middle of the summer. We've always had tournaments in January and February. So I don't think it'll be too strange for a lot of the sides that are coming to the World Cup. But I think sometimes, a lot of people seem to adopt sort of a Eurocentric point of view, don't they? And particularly a Premier League point of view. It's like if it's not front and center with the Premier League, then a lot of people, sometimes get turned off by that and they think, wow, how strange. But, most of the world is probably used to having a tournament at this time of the year. So not too strange for them. A bit of a hiatus needed in the Premier League. But that's a very busy period of the season, and some might argue, in the Premier League in particular, not a lot of the games are watchable around that Christmas time because they come thick and fast. Teams are playing like every 48 hours. There's a lot of injuries. We've had a lot of COVID over the last couple of seasons as well. So not everybody is able to get, it's a grind. Not everybody is able to get their best teams out all the time. So I think it'll be a welcome break, if I'm honest. And for the people who are traveling, the supporters who are traveling as well, wouldn't it be great to get away from Europe for a few days in the middle of winter when it's snowing, raining, so cold, so dark, and you can go somewhere where you can just, chill out and enjoy the sunshine?
Yeah, definitely. And what do you think about Qatar as hosts? Because from what I'm seeing, the facilities and stuff that they got planned and that's in the works, it looks absolutely unreal at the moment. Like this might be like the most high tech World Cup we've ever had. So how do you feel about Qatar as the host nation?
Well, I think it's a really, having such a small country host the World Cup could probably go two ways. I actually think it'll be fine. All the stadiums will be really close together. All the team training camps will be really close together. We know that for the knockouts, for example, they haven't already scheduled the pathways because they'll be able to be so nimble, I suppose, and adapt closer to the time to say, okay, it's best to send these teams here because, the fans can get up to that stadium so easily, whatever. So I do think it's a good idea having it in a country so small. I've been to the last two World Cups in Brazil and in Russia, and that's two massive countries. Now I know, and in Russia, they had it just sort of on the European side of Russia rather than over the Urals as well. But Brazil is like as big as a continent. Russia is as big as a continent. And journey times, sometimes it would take teams a full day, just to get to the next stadium. That's not always ideal. At least the teams and the players will know that, no matter what happens after any group stage game, they can just be, sort of back in the hotel, back in the training camp, within sort of an hour or two after the final whistle. I think the coaches in particular will really be fond of that. What they don't want is, like in the Euros, all of a sudden you're playing in Azerbaijan, and then you're flying back and it's the middle of the night. Your next match is in Wales 2 days later, and you got to stop off in Belgium on the way there. That doesn't make any sense. So I do think having it nice and tight is probably a good idea.
So just to whet the appetite of everybody, I want everyone to send in who they believe is going to actually win the tournament. Who is the favourites walking into the tournament? And don't just say the country that you represent. Who is the actual favourites for this tournament? So, Pete, I'm going to ask you.
I was going to ask you.
You're going to ask me. I was going to ask
you. You never get to give your opinion. You're the one that's always asking the questions. I bet, you'd like to be interviewed yourself sometimes.
I'm very undecided at the moment. There's some top nations. Argentina haven't lost a game in like 22 games. They're the Copa America winners. Brazil, officially number one nation in the world.
Since yesterday,
England got to a semis, got to a final. France, they're the holders. There's so many countries at the moment that I think are in a good space. But I'm going so hard. But you know what? I'm going to go with... I've got a sneaky feeling for Brazil. It's been 20 years since 2002, since they last won it.
Yeah.
Neymar's legacy. I mean, I'm going to speak to Mateus later from Goal Brazil, and we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into it. Yeah. Later, we'll get into all the teams in depth.
Yeah. But I'm leaning towards Brazil at this present moment. But of course, hopefully, it comes home, It's coming up. Hey, I need to sing that one more time. You know what I mean? But Pete, who you got?
Well, I think the two big South American heavyweights are probably as good now as they have been for a World Cup in a long time. I don't think I've seen an Argentina and Brazil team together be so strong coming into a World Cup as I see them now. To be honest, I think I know we'll get into it with Mateus, but Brazil's attacking talent is a joke. It's a joke. And even if they're missing one or two players with suspension and injuries, we'll get into the names a bit later on, but I just love their attacking talent. And they've got a bit of solidity through that midfield as well. Argentina, it seems that Scaloni, former West Ham right back Scaloni, has got like a culture shift going at Argentina. Messi is so happy, like he's getting whistled off the field in Paris. Yeah. Nobody wants him there. And yet he plays for Argentina and he's feeling that warm embrace. And you would never have predicted that earlier on in his career for Messi. It was always like the Argentina fans were the ones saying, "Oh, well, he's Catalan. We don't care whether he plays for us or not." Maradona's the guy. Exactly.
Like Tevez. Yeah, exactly.
And look at it now; it's come full circle. His club fans don't want to know. They would happily rip up his contract at Paris Saint-Germain. I think the fans would, if they got the opportunity. He's sort of, he's half-hearted playing for Paris. Not like he was for Barcelona. And Argentina is actually, where his passion lies right now. And you could see that, I saw some of the footage from Buenos Aires in the Bombonera the other week. I think he got a couple of assists. He may have scored as well. But it was just beautiful to see the reception that he got. It feels like Argentina 100% wholeheartedly has accepted Messi as their guy. And that's manifesting itself in the way he's playing his football. I love watching Messi playing for Argentina at the minute.
Since you mentioned Messi, I know there's so many Messi fans in here. And, of course, whenever you mention Messi, you got to mention CR7 as well.
The other guy.
Are walking in to their fifth and possibly final World Cup. We know we've seen their prime for 15 years. We know they're both maybe not to what they used to be, but they're still impactful players.
Yeah.
What do you think about Ronaldo's chances of potentially bowing out with a World Cup?
With a World Cup title?
Mm-hmm.
Portugal really, really disappointed me at the Euros. I thought they were capable of so much more. I actually thought on a talent base, I thought they had a better squad in 2021. Yeah, Euro 2020, but it was in 2021.
Yeah.
I actually thought they had a better squad this time than they did in the Euros that they actually won. So for me, it was a bit of a disappointment to see how they ended up playing. But I think man for man, especially the way the likes of Bernardo Silva is playing, and Ronaldo is a really good goal scorer. There's some really good emerging talents there as well in the Portugal squad too. I think among the European teams, I think they'll be there or thereabouts. Obviously, it depends on the draw and the pathways that they face, but we saw Ronaldo during the summer last year. Even if the Portugal team isn't firing, he still ends up top scorer. And I don't think that it's beyond him to score, 4 or 5 goals again and get them through some really tight ties in the group stage and end up in the quarterfinals and the semi-finals. I think Portugal, they probably benefit from more attacking coach. I know it's too late to make that change now, but I think Santos was great for them. They could sit back. They had Pepe, Jose Font, and all these guys who could really resist. And then it was left sort of to Ronaldo, Nani, Quaresma, my all-time favorite Quaresma. It was left to those guys to carry out a counter-attack. But now I think they've got more attacking players, great attacking talent. João Felix is there as well. I mentioned Bernardo Silva. Matheus Nunes for Sporting. I mean, they've got some great talent. And I think the time has come to evolve the team to become more of a dominant sort of Guardiola-type team. And I don't think they've made that particular step forward. But great talent for me, the Portuguese team.
Let's bring in a few of our contributors from different nations. So we've got Taha that I want to bring in, representing the Arab nations. How are you, mate? We've got Leon representing Germany. We've got David, who's going to be representing France. And we got Mateus, who's representing Brazil. So to be fair, there's a few very strong nations that are being brought in here. I'm going to start with you, David, with France. I'm going to start with you. As the holders, I'm going to give you that respect. I'm going to give you that respect to start and set pace. France are the holders. Had a very disappointing Euros. We have to be honest. It was very, very disappointing compared to what people expected. Can France go back to back and rectify that pretty much of a disaster Euros?
I'm gonna tell you, the back-to-back is coming. It's coming. Bring us anyone. It can be Germany, Brazil, Argentina. Y'all been blah, 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 chatting about everything. We in there, and we in there. And you know who's in there in the squad? Who's up front? We got Benzema, we got Griezmann, we got Mbappe. Since the last Euro, progression going through the roof is insane. The back-to-back is coming. Like, I ain't scared of anything. Like, literally, I'm telling you.
You seem super, super confident, but that same confidence you would have had walking into the Euro 2020. You would have had this same confidence, and it didn't quite work out. Benzema came back, Giroud wasn't there. Everyone was like, that means it's coming again, and it backfired. So why? What makes you so confident, other than just the names that you've reeled off?
Let me tell you why. So the Euros, literally defense absent. We had no defense. Everybody was injured. If you see the game against Switzerland, Clément Lenglet played his first game, got out at halftime, and then we just played with Kimpembe and Varane, who was really already a little bit injured. On the wing, we had Rabiot and Pavard, who did a disastrous class on this side. I don't want to see Pavard no more. I can't lie. Thank you for the kick in 2018, but your time is over now. Literally, the defense wasn't there. That's why we lost. And Benzema literally got into the squad. He was still fresh, they were still learning how to play together. But now, now they had time to build chemistry. It's all about chemistry. We have chemistry. You can put Benzema there. You can put Giroud there. You can put Mbappe there. We got Jonathan Klaus now that's better than Pavard. We even got some Marseille player in there now. Guendouzi is there. Saliba is there as a backup. So now we have backup in defense. So we're way more stronger than the Euros and we're more confident. We're good.
So would you say the feeling in France? What's the feeling at the moment in France? Does everyone share your sentiment? Do people think it's going to be definitely a back-to-back? What is the feeling out there in France?
The feeling in France is just pure confidence. It's pure confidence. Like, we know who we got on the cheek. We know who we got in the squad. And we've been watching like the friendlies and all the games, all the new players that got put into the squad. And every time the new players come into it, he just plays super fire. Saliba was there playing fire. Like Jonathan Klaus, literally that guy is from Lens. just got there randomly because he's so good, and it was so good. It was amazing. So the way we're feeling right now is like, okay, who's gonna be there in the draw? Who's gonna be able to stop us? We don't know. We're just waiting to see. And we hold us anyway, so we know the vibe already.
Fair enough. There's people in the comments, they're asking a lot of questions as to why have we got someone that has the Irish flag in their name. What are Ireland doing here? They're getting a lot of questions. Pete, what are you gonna say about that?
I can't help where I'm from, you know. I gotta put my colours out there. I could never conduct this under another flag. I'm sorry.
Fair enough. And let's move on to Taha.
Can we talk? Do you mind if I just talk to David about France at the moment? Is that okay, Cam? David,
come on.
David. France always seems to me it's like the culture of a club rather than an international. Like an international team, they seem really confident with one another. They seem like a really close knit group. Do you think that's vital? You know, in terms of the makeup of the French team, do you think that's important that there's a really, really nice culture among all the players and under that particular coach as well?
It's very important, very, very important. Because I remember back in the day, like Euro 2016 or around that time, when all of those new French players like were booming, like they were like, "Whoa, these guys are amazing!" Blah blah blah. For example, let's take the example of Payet. Payet made the squad in 2016 because he did well on the last friendly game before the Euros. Why? Because Didier Deschamps' mentality is like, I have this squad. Whatever they do in their club, this is my squad because they are a family. They're a group. They banter together. They have fun together, and they're always just. It's always the group. The group is the most important. So now, with the new players, the new people, everything, you can see that they're getting quite along together. So that group, that mentality of group of family, is super important, and that's why we're gonna win it again.
Yeah, you could see it the other day when Pogba turned up for international duty and he asked Mbappe, how are things in Paris? And he said, I'm fed up. It's like he was happy to be with France rather than being with Paris.
France is freedom. You can see Pogba. Pogba can play the football he wants in France.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. He can go run around, shoot from everywhere. Pogba, lovely, lovely. They care about each other. Literally, they care about each other. That's why. Yeah. That's the main difference. Yeah.
Joshua Estrada says France will be shocked because of this mentality. Because of the mentality that you have, the overconfidence, you will be in for a surprise. What is your final words to somebody that says that to you?
Okay, my final word is simple. We, the fans, are confident. We, the fans, we know. We believe in our players. We believe in our people. They don't let us down. We believe in them. Yeah? So maybe for us, it's going to be bad. But not for the team. Because the team is not thinking like that. The team is very humble, very calm, taking game by game, doing what they have to do, playing their football. That's it. The rest is on us. Don't blame them. It's on us.
Definitely good luck to you guys. But again, as I said, Taha, welcome to the show, of course. Thanks for coming along.
Thanks, mate.
I just want to ask you, for people that don't know too much about Qatar as an actual football team, what can we expect from them?
Well, for the Qatari national team, I think it's a team that has been playing together for now more than 8 years. They are the winner of the Asian Cup in 2019, and then they played in the qualifiers of the European qualifiers. They played in South African, South American competitions also. So they've got some experience so far playing together, and also the coach, their current coach, they worked with them since young ages. He was working in the Aspire Academy, and then he knows the players since their early age. So we can say that the current Qatari team is might be the surprise of the tournament. I'm not saying they will be winning the title, of course, but they are really a strong team. They have some good names, and they, as a group, they surprised all of us during the Asian Cup. Like the way they won it, the way they played, they played the same. I think Felix, as he is Spanish, he brought up this tiki-taka mentality, and they play really good football. What's lacking them, I think, no one is playing at top football. Like mainly all of them are playing in the Qatari league. So when they face teams with I think bigger players, bigger names, bigger experience, then I think they are having some problems. But other than that, I think they are, as a group, they are complex and they are a good team.
Nice. And of course, as this is the first kind of like tournament out in Qatar, of course, and what does this mean for the people in Qatari? Like having a World Cup come to Qatar, what does it mean to the people out there?
I think that's a very big thing. This is really a dream coming true. Like if you see, Qatar now is preparing for that for more than 10 years. They have been preparing every day and working hard to make something big. And I think many people would be surprised while being in Qatar. Like the facilities there, everything is surprising. I was there during the Arab Cup for 1 week, and believe me, I was in Brazil, I was in Russia. I expect that in terms of high technology, in terms of facilities, to be one of the best World Cups in history. So people are very proud. They want to also. It's also an opportunity for Qatari people to present their culture, because it's for many of European and Occidental people, it's an unknown culture. So it's also even through the stadiums. So, for example, you will be going to Al Bayt Stadium. The stadium itself is like an old building, an old Qatari building. So we'll be getting to know the culture even through the stadiums themselves.
Nice. And I see the Moroccan flag in your name. You guys
Yes.
had a nice qualification, beating Congo. It was for a little second. It was a little bit of a scare, but you guys handled the business in the second leg. What can we expect from Morocco? Can they surprise a few people?
Morocco, I think this is the first time in my life I'm seeing Morocco qualifying to the World Cup while people are not happy. There are many problems, yes, inside the Moroccan national team, especially with the coach, Vaid Halilovic. I think Karim, who is French, he knows Vaid Halilovic very well. He is a pretty problematic coach. So, for example, he's not counting on Hakim Ziyech anymore. He's not counting on Mazraoui anymore, the one who will be joining Barcelona next year. And also the way the Moroccan national team is playing is not convincing many. I think we were quite lucky during the qualifications, because we played almost all games at home. The 6 games during the groups, we played them at home, because some nations, I think, couldn't host the games at their homes because of problems, because their stadiums were not qualified by FIFA. And then we got Congo in the decisive game. We all know that Congo was maybe not the toughest opponent. So yes, the team has some very interesting names. You are speaking about Hakimi, about Roman Sess, who is playing on Wolverhampton, Nasiri, Bono playing in really big teams. But the way we are playing, also we are lacking in some places on the field. For example, in the midfield, we don't have big names. So I'm not really expecting better than we have done in 2018, where we had really a better coach, Hervé Renard, and way better players.
I'm sure we're all looking forward to Qatar as host, but we've got so much Iranian representation in the comments. I can see just so much Iran flags just flooding the comments. I know there's a little bit, there's rumors going around about what might happen with Iran at the moment, but what can we expect from Iran as a nation in the World Cup?
Iran is when you speak about the Asian, it's one of the biggest teams. I think they lost Carlos Queiroz, which gave them this stability, which gave them this identity in the last years. We have seen them playing at a really high level and competing even in the last World Cup. I think they had their chances till the last minutes to qualify to the second round. For now, I think they lost many of their experienced players. It's a new generation with many new talents. In the qualifiers, they did okay. They were not the best, but they did okay. And I think it will depend on the group they will be playing in. Iran now is a young team, much younger than we know. If you compare it to 2018, and I think if they are in an affordable group, they can make a surprise.
Nice one. Thank you, Ty. You got any questions, Pete? Anything like that I'm about to get to Brasilia.
Yeah, well, I was going to say I think Qatar is a very interesting team for me, because they've not had to, well, they haven't had to go through the qualification phase, but they've had a lot of competitive games, and anybody who's watched sort of American football, North American and South American football over the past few years, as well as the Arab Cup, they've had loads of tournament practice, and they did quite well in those tournaments in America as well, Taha, didn't they?
Yes, they did well. They did well. Even in the Arab Cup, they really played the big games, and they lost in the last, really very last minutes against Algeria. Algeria, which is a disappointment for all of us in the Arab world, that they are not qualifying to the World Cup. But I think this is a really important point. They are, since 2019, they started preparing for the World Cup. And most importantly, I think the group is really compact. Like, they know each other. They have really some really good talents, but the only thing that might be missing is that weekly high top level football. They are not, Qatari league is not that big, and you can see that. You can see that when the rhythm is a bit higher than they are used to, then they suffer a bit. Other than that, I think they are a compact team, a strong team, and they can surprise many big teams.
Yeah, I think so. They've almost played everything. So they played the CONCACAF, they played the Copa America, they played Arab Cup, and they also played the
Arab Cup.
obviously the Asian Cup as well. So
Yes.
they've been, and in the European qualifying campaign, they played as the sort of shadow team in the group with 3 teams as well. So, or 4 teams as well. So I mean, that's incredible. And plus, I think they almost manage it like a club side, because Felix has been the coach of these guys since they were children, more or less.
Yes.
That's why I think you're right. I think the Qatar team will end up surprising a lot of people if they get a kind group. So if they don't get one of the big fish in the second and third pots, I think Qatar will probably qualify for the knockout round.
No,
I do
definitely.
think so too.
So let's move on to Brazil. Listen, when you think about a World Cup, I think Brazil are the only nation to have made every World Cup. Like, there's always been some that's missed one. Brazil have been in every World Cup since the beginning of time. How much pressure is there on Brazil to deliver? As I said, it's been 20 years. I'm saying 20 years. Who would have thought that when you had R9, Ronaldinho, Rivaldo, we thought it was all going to just be every time it'll be Brazil. What is is there pressure coming from the Brazilian people on this team?
Hey guys, yeah, definitely that is. I mean, you have to represent well the country that had Pele and Garrincha and all those amazing players from the past, and and from the recent past, like Ronaldo, like Romario. But I feel like, and that is a topic that I wanted to bring to the discussion here, that there's always too much drama around the Brazilian team and Neymar, and always if you come back like a few years before, like 2010, Neymar was 18, and we were people were discussing why isn't he brought up to the World Cup back in South Africa, and then 2014, all the emotions of hosting a World Cup, and then Neymar's injury.
You know how that ended up.
Yeah, and then 2018, all the same thing again. And will Neymar be fit to play well and lead Brazil to the World Cup, and all the drama? And now it seems like we are somehow past that, and Neymar himself knows now that Brazil can win titles without having him. Like, we won the Copa America back in 2019. He wasn't there. I think that was really like a wake up call to, for him. Like, well, I'm not as indispensable as I thought I was, maybe. And also for the other players in Brazil, like, everybody's always relying on Neymar, but you're a Brazilian, man. You know how to play football, good football. You can win. You can win things. So we are now. I feel like we're now more centered and focused to at least compete this time. Like, I feel like if you get like the the time when we were knocked out by Belgium,
Yeah.
people used to joke in Brazil like, "Oh, so this is the talented Belgium generation that can't win anything,"
Hmm.
and we had our ass kicked by them.
Yeah.
So um,
I
yeah,
mean, Brazil at the moment, you would say, are arguably one of the best nations in the world. I mean, I know you lost in the Copa America final. I felt like that whole final had a weird vibe. It's like they just wanted to give the trophy to Messi. It was super weird. I don't know what was going on over there, but you guys have one of the best teams in the world at the moment going into this tournament. Do you think that Brazil will do it this time? I've got you as favorites. I'm in your
yeah.
camp.
No, I mean you can't write off Brazil. I don't think you will ever be able to write us off. But again, it's it's summed up to keeping all the drama out and focusing and uh, our coach Chichi now he's under some scrutiny to bring up a stronger squad than he brought back in 2018 when he brought like injured players to train and to be options um, for a team that has to be competing strongly for to win the sixth world title. Um, and there's the whole thing of will Neymar play his last World Cup?
Yeah,
Will other players play their last World Cup like Thiago Silva, probably Dani Alves?
yeah,
Um, I think we can do it this time, but again, it's all about not respecting our opponents and knowing that uh, you can't only bring the yellow shirt and think you're going to win and steamroll off over the competition, you know. So it's more for me like a matter of focusing and again keeping the drama out. It's too much drama
yeah.
every 4 years. It's too much drama uh, for a country that, as you said again, managed to win when everybody was writing us off back in 2002.
Mm.
So we have to rise up to the occasion, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, drama follows. I know you've mentioned Neymar a few times, but drama follows Neymar wherever he goes. But
Yeah.
what what will this do for his legacy? We're talking about Neymar if he wins this tournament. I mean, the great Brazilians always win a World Cup. Ronaldinho, R9, Kaká. I mean, Pele. We can go back years, years, years. Is there an external pressure for Neymar to win this? Are the Brazilian people saying, listen, if you want to sit in this Hall of Fame, if you want to be that legend, you have to bring home the big one.
I think so. I mean, for me, Neymar is already, um, despite what happens, he's already in the Hall of Fame of the greatest in Brazil for everything he's done at international level, at European level, what he achieved for Santos here. But um, there's the matter of how he wants people to love him too, you know, and there's a lot of people that are still waiting and demanding that he performs greatly at international level too. He just won one title back in 2013 with the Confederations Cup and then the gold medal in Rio, but there's still the feeling that he needs to deliver more. He needs to at least shows that he. I think he does care a lot. He loves playing for Brazil, but you have to have like the confirmation that I love you so much that I will bring you the World Cup, and I will be sitting alongside Pele and Ronaldo and all those great guys. So there's this feeling that people will unanimously love him and embrace him as a Brazilian icon if he wins the World Cup. Yeah, I think there's this, but at the same time, there's the I feel like he's finally more matured after all the drama that we've been talking about here. Um, for what's happening in Brazil, for what's happening in PSG too, over the last few years. So yeah, there's this feeling that he needs to deliver the World Cup. I personally don't feel like he will play his last World Cup, even if he doesn't win. I don't quite
Yeah.
get that, but yes, I think he is pressuring himself to deliver and to bring it home. Yeah.
Let's see. Let's hope Brazil bring that samba feeling to Qatar. But just gonna move on to Leon from our Germany team. Leon,
Hey,
new manager. You know, Hansi Flick is in charge. It was Joachim Löw, and we know how that ended. It wasn't too great after a really good time actually. As Germany manager, there's a kind of a new kind of vibes that's going on at Germany. Like, you know, some young players coming through. It seems like you're battering teams as well, scoring a lot of goals. Are you walking into this tournament a lot more confident? Are the German people walking in a lot more confident than they did in 2018?
well, I want that fifth star for starters.
Okay,
But I don't think.
next on him.
Well, I'm changing my mind every week. You know, it's mixed feelings. Obviously, um, Hansi Flick. I think you couldn't have found someone better to make that change that is about to approach for Germany. Under Joachim Löw, especially before the Euros, there was a feeling among some players that the training lacked maybe some intensity, and those who know Flick know that intensity is not something he's lacking at all. He was part of the World Cup winning training staff in 2014, so that says a lot. And some actually saw him as the secret reason for the team to have the success that they did. And then at Bayern, we all know what he did there. He's showering in trophies. So I'm sure that success will come with him. But if that happens already in the World Cup, and to what extent, there are obviously a lot of factors that play in, but the chance of success increased, I think, a lot by naming him the Bundestrainer.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can do it, as I said, I'm changing my mind every week because we have some world-class players with Thomas Müller, with Kai Havertz, who scored the Champions League final goal. But we also have a lot of young players who stand for this change, but I'm not sure are quite ready yet. Especially the defense with David Raum, who was playing the last few games, and yeah, I'm changing every week.
Very, very indecisive. You're on the fence at the moment. But Pete, what do you think when you look at the Germany team? How do you feel about them, considering what they were like in 2018 to this new kind of Hansi Flick revolution kind of?
I think they've got their swagger back to an extent. You know, I think we always expect the Germans to play with a certain, self-confidence that they expect to win matches when they play them. I don't think they had that in the last couple of tournaments. They looked. I was at the game where they're beaten by Mexico in the World Cup in Moscow, and it didn't feel like a Germany team, you know. And that really did feel like it brought down the curtain on an era. And I know that Joachim Löw stuck around probably a little bit too long in the end after that. But that to me was the end. That was the end of that team. That was the end of that era, and he should have moved on. However, I do think that they have replenished over the last 2-3 years really, really well. I like the players. I like the style. There's still some experienced heads in there as well. He mentioned David Raum there as well. It's like that left back spot is like England's left wing spot during the 1990s. It's just like one, they can never really fill it with somebody who's consistent. But elsewhere, I think they're fantastic. You know, you talk about world-class players like Havertz, Joshua Kimmich, Toni Kroos. I don't need to name them all out for you, but I think they've got really, really good pace and good options up front as well. At Gnabry, Leroy Sané's had a pretty good season as well. And I don't think any of the second or any of the non-seeded teams will fancy playing Germany at all. I think they'll click into gear. And crucially, Hansi Flick, he's probably too good for international football. You know, you're talking about a coach he's a world class coach who took Bayern to every trophy on offer, and then he goes and manages the Germany team. And you never really get that caliber of coach in international football. You never really get like a world class club coach coaching an international team when he should be coaching a club team. And that's what you have with Hansi Flick. And I think he can, you know, I think his expertise, sort of the brains of the operation, if you were. Going back to Joachim Löw's days, I think they could be really, really effective at this World Cup. Leon, who do you think is going to be? Oh no, carry on. Tell me what you're going to say.
I want to say that's the part of the mixed feelings, because in Germany, I think we know that we have an incredible offense, but defensively maybe lagging some experience. But because Hansi Flick is the coach, I think there's so much more confidence, and maybe this little glimmer of hope that we can maybe do it already in 2022, just because he is such an incredible coach, and what he did at Bayern Munich when he started there, it was meant to be for a few games, and then he beat Dortmund in his first game 4-0, and everyone was like, I think he should do this full time. Yeah. And then he won everything, and Löw stayed, I think, too long as well. But it was the right time for him to step down now that Hansi Flick could take the job, and I think that's a very big factor. Also, in which group Germany will end up if they if they are drawn into a later group, they have maybe 2 or 3 more training days with Hansi Flick, and this can be a very big impact on how the style is going to play, how quickly the players can adapt to his playing style, and start into the tournament.
Is there a question mark for you who can be sort of that number 9, that leading goal scorer for Germany? I think they've lacked that over the last few tournaments as well. I know that Werner is sort of playing to the wing almost. He's not really a central striker. Havertz is more like a 9.5. Do they have a killer nowadays?
I think we're too versatile to predict that, because we have 3-4 players who can play up front. Like we can play up front with Havertz, we can play up front with Thomas Müller, with Werner, of course. There are 3 brilliant players who bring something different to the table, and depending on who is playing up front, we have someone different playing on the 10, in the midfield. Maybe Musiala is playing on the 10, or Havertz, or Müller, who's such a different player to everyone else. So Müller you have to always keep in mind. But I think Timo Werner is going to be very interesting, because we don't know if he is going to stay at Chelsea or if he is going to return to Germany. So he wants to show himself, obviously, to potential clubs who want to sign him. Same for Rüdiger as well, but in the defensive way. So my pick is Thomas Müller, because it's Thomas Müller. But the rest, Sané as well, from the wing, he's playing a brilliant season at Bayern. Yeah. So
he's recovered really now, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he's recovered.
Nice one. Thanks a lot, Leon and Mateus, for joining us as well. Gonna bring in some contributors from other nations. Let's get in a bit of Spain, a bit of England, a bit of the Dutch team, and a bit of Argentina. A lot of favorites in this little bunch over here. Welcome, guys. Thanks a lot for coming in and joining us. Guys, in the comments, make sure you're still sending us questions, because we will answer as many as we possibly can.
Naz has gone for the Morocco flag as well. You notice?
Oh yeah.
It's a modern world. We've got dual nationalities going on.
Since you've spoken, let's start with you. Naz. England. You know what it's like every single tournament England walk into. The pressure is insane. Of course, I'm in London myself, but from what you can hear, what is the feeling going into this tournament for England? We know there's so much talk going on with Gareth Southgate and the boos and blah blah blah, but what is the feeling going into the tournament?
England are always confident, kind of in a drunk, arrogant kind of way. But this time we have a reason to be confident, don't we? So that's kind of the feeling. I think that there's always that sort of fear that hangs over you as an England supporter. What's going to go wrong? Is somebody going to get sent off like David Beckham did? Is a referee going to make a crazy decision against you, like when Frank Lampard scored against Germany? You just have all these memories of pain, disappointment, and all that. But you've got to be hopeful, haven't you, with the players that England have got? I mean, these guys are playing Champions League finals. There's some of the best young players in the world. I mean, we have Next Gen as a brand under goal, and Jude Bellingham just won Next Gen. So, we've got the best young player in the world here. So I think that England are in a bit of a funny place where we're always confident, sometimes a bit too confident than we should be. But now we kind of do have a reason to be confident, don't we, Cams?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when you get to when you get to a Euro final, and you went 1-0 up as well, maybe tactically it didn't work out so much after the goal, but then you also got to a semi-final in the World Cup. What's the next hurdle? It means you got to lift the trophy, right? I mean, you've broken down those barriers, so now it's finally time for England to win something since 1966. Who knows? I think it's a very talented generation, but again, as England fan as well, there's always just that little feeling inside of you where you're like, something is gonna happen. Like England are gonna bottle it, or you just don't know with England. But I'll be singing "It's Coming Home" all tournament. No doubt about that. I know I will. But with the players that England have, who would you say is the star man for England? Because of course the obvious names might be Harry Kane or anything like that. But we saw in the Euros, Raheem Sterling stepped up, and we've seen Maguire, John Stones. Like, these players have turned up. Who would you say going into the tournament at the moment is that guy to carry kind of the nation?
Yeah, Cams. I think that for me, it's just Harry Kane. There's no one else. I think that, if England lose a player to injury, it can't be Harry Kane, man. He is deadly. He is a great number 10. He's a great number 9. He's just a complete striker, and he's the leader of this group. I think that he's the guy that the players respect. If there's a penalty, he's going to score it. And you know what England are like with penalties? Absolutely terrified. But Harry Kane, he doesn't carry that baggage. So I think that England build a team around Kane. But like you said, I mean, the attack is just ridiculous. I was actually picking my squad. I know you got a question later about what squad I would pick. But yeah, just picking the attack is absolutely ridiculous hard. But I think for me, you build the team around Kane. I think also centre-backs, I think that would be my worry. Maguire and Stones have got to be the centre-backs, really, that England build around. It's not because the others aren't good. Like, I really love Tomori. Ben White is coming through pretty strong at Arsenal. But you need experience in these tournaments. You need guys who've done it before. So, yeah, I know Maguire got booed at Wembley, and that's another thing England have hanging over him. The fans can sometimes cause more problems than they solve. But Maguire is a huge player for England as well. That the positions that can't be changed is centre-back and striker. And then around that, we've got great fullbacks, no problem. Centre mid, it's okay, but I do believe that a lot of these guys are getting better. You're talking Bellingham, increasingly you put him in. Rice going from strength to strength.
Yeah.
Phillips as well. Interesting to see what happens with him this summer. And then attack, you're not worrying at all. You're not worrying for goals. You're not worrying for assists. So for me, it's just Kane and the centre backs. You've got to wrap in cotton wool.
I can still see. I mean, with England, what comes with England is it's up and down with the fans and even opposing fans. Everyone wants England to fail. I can see in the comments, Giles Suarez says England is the almost team. Jesus Benitez says England are overrated. What does England have to do to finally put that to bed? Like, what is it going to take to win this tournament, though, Naz?
I think England needs to shake off their history, the history of failure, the heavy shirt, even the style of football. We talk about the golden generation from the late 90s and early 2000s, with David Beckham in, Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, Rio Ferdinand. They were great players. They were world class. They were in Champions League finals, winning games, competing with Messi, playing alongside Ronaldo. But the problem is we played 4-4-2. We didn't trust our players technically on the ball. And you know, we're playing dinosaur football. Now, I think England are moving on to another era now, an era where we can be confident technically. We can keep possession against the Spain. We can try and, you know, manage the ball well in big games. You know, it happened against Germany very successfully in the Euros there. That was a big moment, I think. And I think that they need to be more confident in the technique. You know, we have the best academies in the country. Phil Foden, ridiculous player technically. You know, Jadon Sancho as well. The Chelsea academy boys, really well trained. Liverpool have a great academy. Spurs do. All these players are being brought up the right way. They're playing football in cages, you know, in East London. I live in East London, and they're playing in tiny little spaces, but they manage the ball really well. So we need to trust that new image of England, you know, and the technically gifted England. And that's why we've been knocked out of a lot of finals and semi-finals, you know. England played in 3 semi-finals and 1 final recently. They went, you know, a goal up against Croatia in 2018. They also went a goal up against Netherlands in 2019 in the Nations League. And again, and then what did they do? 10 men behind the ball, goal up, 10 men behind the ball. We'll go old school. 10 men behind the ball, kick it long. No, manage the ball, keep possession, dominate the game, go for the second. And that's where England needs to change. That's where Southgate needs to step up as well, because game management is the last thing missing from England. They've got the ability, they've got the goals, they've got superstars all over the pitch. Just need to get that game management right, get that mentality right, and get that tactical coaching right as well. So for me, that's the last step.
So we got a comment here from Scythe0791. He says, England has great players, does not know how to use them accordingly. Don't know why England don't use them accordingly. And when you touched on the previous generation, you know, the Gerrards, the Lampards, Scholes and all them, that is basically what has happened with them. But would you say this team is better than the dubbed golden generation?
Yeah, I would. The golden generation missed 2 things, and I think Pete mentioned it earlier. One of them, the left winger. You know, there was no left footer on that side, was there? Paul Scholes hanging out there, playing out of position. You put one of the best players in the world out of position. And then you had the goalkeepers, you know, were a bit up and down. Paul Robinson and David James, for me, weren't at the level that you need. I think